Have you ever felt a sudden chill down your spine when walking alone in the dark, or felt like an invisible pair of eyes was watching you from the shadows? That isn't ghosts or magic. It's an ancient evolutionary survival trick built into your brain 100,000 years ago. When our ancestors heard a rustle in the dark grass, assuming it was a saber-toothed tiger saved their lives, while assuming it was just the wind got them eaten alive. Your brain evolved to be paranoid because it was smarter to be terrified and wrong than calm and dead. Don't skip a single second and watch this video all the way to the end, because how early humans created gods to survive a terrifying world will change how you see your own mind forever. Your high school history textbook probably taught you that ancient humans created gods to explain rain, thunder, and the seasons. But cognitive anthropology reveals a far more sinister truth. Religion did not begin as philosophy. It began as a high-stakes psychological defense mechanism against madness and social collapse. 200,000 years ago, the human brain reached a terrifying evolutionary milestone: self-awareness. For the first time in Earth's history, a creature could look at the stars and realize its own mortality. Early humans suddenly understood that they were fragile, that their loved ones would die, and that devastating droughts or lion attacks could wipe out their tribe overnight. To prevent early human bands from collapsing into overwhelming existential panic, the human mind did something extraordinary. It projected agency onto the invisible universe. If a lightning bolt struck a tree, it wasn't a random electrostatic discharge. It was an angry sky ancestor demanding a ritual. By transforming random natural disasters into the actions of conscious spirits, early humans gained a crucial psychological illusion: control. If the gods were angry, humans could perform dances, make sacrifices, or offer prayers to appease them. Superstition was the world's first anxiety medication. If you want to understand how this ancient mental survival kit still shapes modern human behavior, hit that subscribe button right now before we dive deeper into the darkness. To understand why ancient humans started believing in gods, you must first understand hyperactive agency detection, a neurological reflex that hardwired your ancestors to see intent everywhere. Imagine walking through a prehistoric forest at twilight. You hear a sharp twig snap behind a bush. Your brain has two choices. Choice A is to assume it's just the wind blowing a branch. Choice B is to assume it's a stalking leopard preparing to pounce. If you choose choice A and it's actually the wind, you win nothing. If you choose choice A and it's a leopard, you die and your genes are erased from history. But if you choose choice B and it's just the wind, you suffer a brief surge of adrenaline, but you survive. Over millions of years, natural selection ruthlessly weeded out the calm, logical hominids and favored the jumpy, hyper-paranoid ones who saw invisible predators behind every bush. As human brains grew larger, this hyperactive predator detection mechanism didn't disappear, it expanded. Early humans began assigning human-like motives not just to bushes, but to the sun, the wind, volcanoes, and infectious diseases. If a river flooded a village, it was because the river spirit was offended. If a child fell ill, an evil spirit had entered their body. This tendency to anthropomorphize nature allowed early humans to navigate an unpredictable world by treating nature as a person that could be bargained with. If you've ever found yourself secretly wishing for good luck or feeling like the universe was sending you a personal message, drop a comment below and let us know. You are executing the exact same Paleolithic software that kept your grandfathers alive. While hyperactive agency created the first nature spirits, a massive social crisis forced humans to invent something far more powerful: big gods. For over 90% of human history, Homo sapiens lived in small hunter-gatherer bands of fewer than 50 people. In these tiny groups, everyone was related, and social order was maintained by peer pressure and constant gossip. You couldn't steal your neighbor's meat or murder a rival because the entire band would immediately catch you and banish you into the wilderness, which meant certain death. However, around 12,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution transformed human society forever. Humans began settling in permanent farming villages, which quickly exploded into massive cities of thousands of strangers. For the first time, you had to live alongside people you didn't know and couldn't trust. Gossip and peer pressure no longer worked to keep peace in a city of 10,000 people. Criminals could steal, break promises, or murder in the dark without being caught by human eyes. Early human civilization faced an imminent threat of self-destruction through internal conflict. The solution to this urban crisis was the evolution of moralizing big gods, supernatural deities who were omniscient, moral, and punishing. University of British Columbia psychologist Ara Norenzayan demonstrated in his landmark work Big Gods that large-scale human cooperation only expanded when societies adopted supernatural watchers. No longer could a rogue human commit a crime in secret. Even if no human guard saw you, the moralizing gods saw everything, tracked your misdeeds, and threatened eternal punishment or divine wrath upon your crops. The fear of divine surveillance became the ultimate social glue that bound strangers together into stable empires. During this era of social transformation, early humans began constructing colossal stone monuments to honor these moralizing deities. At Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, dated to nearly 12,000 years ago, hunter-gatherers carved massive, multi-ton, T-shaped stone pillars decorated with fierce predators long before they built settled farming cities or invented pottery. Archaeological evidence suggests Göbekli Tepe served as a regional temple complex where distant bands gathered for seasonal rituals, sharing resources and solidifying intertribal peace under the eyes of their stone gods. Which do you think was more important for early human survival? The psychological comfort of superstition or the social order enforced by big gods? Share your thoughts in the comments. As ancient religions became more structured, human bands faced another terrifying question. How do you prove your loyalty to an invisible deity? The answer was ritual and costly sacrifice. Anthropologists have long puzzled over why ancient humans engaged in painful, time-consuming, and resource-draining rituals, such as animal sacrifices, fasting, or self-inflicted wounds. Evolutionary biology provides an elegant answer: costly signaling theory. If a stranger joins your tribe and simply says, "I believe in your God and I promise not to steal from you," you have no way of knowing if they are lying. But if that stranger burns their precious food, cuts their own skin, or donates their hard-earned livestock in a public ritual, they are giving a costly signal of commitment. They are proving that they are willing to suffer real physical and financial losses for the group's shared belief system. Costly rituals eliminated free riders and created unbreakable trust among tribal members, turning early religious communities into hyper-cooperative fighting units capable of conquering rival groups. Furthermore, early humans developed sophisticated burial practices to anchor ancestral spirits to specific geographical territories. In Shanidar Cave in Iraq, Neanderthal burials dating back 60,000 years revealed flower pollen buried alongside skeletal remains, suggesting early spiritual mourning. Later Homo sapiens bands expanded this by constructing elaborate grave mounds directly over fertile hunting grounds. By burying their dead ancestors in specific valleys, human bands claimed ancestral land rights, creating early legal titles to territory enforced by the fear of angry ancestral spirits. Ancient hominids also used shamanic trance states and psychoactive plants to communicate directly with the spirit realm. In the Cave of Chauvet in France, Paleolithic wall art depicting half-human, half-animal shamanic figures demonstrates that early humans used sensory deprivation and ritual firelight to enter altered states of consciousness. These trance experiences allowed tribal shamans to claim direct communication with animal spirits, providing crucial psychological authority to lead hunting parties during severe Ice Age food shortages. The transition from polytheism, believing in many gods, to strict monotheism, believing in one single universal god, marked the final evolutionary phase of religious consolidation. In the arid deserts of the ancient Levant, the Israelites transformed Yahweh from a local storm and war deity of the Canaanite pantheon into the sole, supreme creator of the universe. Monotheism introduced a powerful new geopolitical dynamic: binary religious truth. Under polytheism, when Rome conquered Greece or Egypt, they simply adopted each other's gods into a shared pantheon. Under strict monotheism, there is only one true god, and all other gods are false demons. This shift created the concept of holy war, religious persecution, and global proselytization, the belief that it is a moral duty to convert or eliminate anyone who worships a different deity. If you value the freedom of thought and belief in the modern world, share your thoughts on how monotheism reshaped human conflict in the comments. Furthermore, early humans constructed massive astronomical observatories, such as Stonehenge in England and Newgrange in Ireland, to track solstice alignments and divine cosmic intent. By predicting the exact day solar light would illuminate sacred inner chambers, early priesthoods demonstrated apparent supernatural control over the sun, cementing their political dominance over agricultural labor forces. Early religious systems also introduced strict dietary taboos and purity laws that served as primitive public health codes. Religious prohibitions against eating certain animals, such as pigs or shellfish in arid environments, protected early human communities from deadly parasite infections long before the discovery of germ theory. Hygiene was codified as holiness, ensuring group survival through sacred law. Beyond local group defenses, early humans constructed elaborate sacred sanctuaries inside deep, inaccessible underground cave networks. Places like Lascaux in France and Altamira in Spain demonstrate that Paleolithic hunters crawled hundreds of meters through pitch-black, narrow limestone passages, carrying flickering animal fat lamps to paint majestic megafauna on cavern ceilings. These subterranean temples functioned as secret initiatory chambers where adolescent tribe members underwent grueling rites of passage. By isolating young hunters in sensory-deprived underground caverns, early shamans induced powerful mystical experiences, embedding lifelong tribal loyalty and deep reverence for the sacred animal spirits that sustained human existence. Furthermore, early human groups developed primitive ancestor veneration altars directly inside living sites to maintain continuous spiritual protection. By keeping skull relics of deceased elders within hearth circles, Paleolithic bands created a physical anchor for tribal memory and collective wisdom. Living alongside ancestral remains provided early humans with immense psychological fortitude during harsh glacial winters, reassuring foraging bands that their dead leaders continued to watch over and protect the tribe from invisible forces. Furthermore, early hominids engineered sophisticated ritual body ornamentation systems using red ochre pigments and pierced shell beads long before inventing written language. Archaeological excavations at Blombos Cave in South Africa revealed 100,000-year-old ochre processing toolkits used to produce brilliant red iron oxide paints. Applying red ochre to human skin during tribal dances symbolized sacred bloodlines, martial readiness, and collective spiritual identity. Wearing standardized tribal body paint allowed distant foraging parties to visually identify allies across vast savanna landscapes, preventing accidental fratricidal skirmishes and reinforcing intertribal peace under shared religious symbology. Additionally, early humans utilized rhythmic acoustic resonance within natural cavern chambers to amplify tribal chanting during sacred rituals. Modern archaeoacoustic studies of Paleolithic painted caves demonstrate that prehistoric artists intentionally placed sacred animal wall art at exact cavern locations featuring peak acoustic resonance. When dozens of human voices chanted in unison within these resonant limestone chambers, low-frequency sound waves induced profound physiological trances, slowing heart rates and flooding the brain with endorphins. This sonic synchronization created an overwhelming feeling of unified group consciousness, convincing early humans that the spiritual realm was actively speaking through the reverberating stone walls. Beyond acoustic resonance, early humans pioneered the construction of megalithic stone alignment calendars long before written history. Locations like Nabta Playa in the Nubian desert, dating back 7,000 years, feature precisely arranged stone circles that marked the summer solstice and predicted seasonal monsoon rains. By demonstrating apparent divine mastery over seasonal rainfall patterns, early shamans cemented their social role as essential intermediaries between human survival and unpredictable cosmic forces. Furthermore, early human groups developed primitive ritual purification protocols utilizing smoke from burning medicinal herbs and aromatic resins. Paleolithic foraging bands burned dried sage, juniper, and pine resin inside crowded sleeping caves to clear airborne pathogens and repel insect vectors. Codified as sacred purification rituals, these early sanitary practices reduced disease transmission within high-density tribal sanctuaries long before modern germ theory existed. Beyond megalithic calendars and smoke purification, early humans developed sacred storytelling traditions to preserve vital survival knowledge across centuries. In oral hunter-gatherer cultures, complex ecological intelligence, such as identifying poisonous plants, tracking seasonal animal migrations, or remembering emergency water holes during historic droughts, was encoded into memorable mythological fables featuring animal deities and heroic ancestors. By disguising life-saving environmental data as sacred religious narratives, early humans ensured that critical survival instructions were memorized and accurately transmitted through oral tradition from generation to generation without distortion. Furthermore, early hominids pioneered ceremonial peace pacts sealed through sacred gift exchanges between competing tribal bands. Archaeological evidence from Paleolithic obsidian trade networks across the Mediterranean demonstrates that distant human groups traveled hundreds of miles to exchange rare volcanic glass, marine shells, and decorated ivory carvings at sacred border sites. Codified as holy trade rituals, these intertribal exchanges established peaceful diplomatic alliances, preventing costly territorial wars and allowing foraging bands to share critical hunting grounds during extreme Ice Age climate fluctuations. Additionally, early human groups developed complex dream interpretation rituals to decode subconscious threat signals. Paleolithic shamans believed that vivid dreams experienced during sleep were direct messages from ancestral spirits warning the tribe of lurking dangers. By analyzing nightmare narratives around the morning campfire, early humans converted subconscious pattern recognition, such as a hunter's subtle, unremembered observation of bent grass or animal scent markings, into actionable group safety warnings, enhancing collective vigilance against predator ambushes. Beyond dream interpretation, early hominids engineered specialized ritual tattoo and scarification practices as permanent physical markers of tribal identity and spiritual protection. Archaeological discoveries of ancient bone tattooing needles and mineral pigment pots dating back tens of thousands of years demonstrate that Paleolithic humans endured painful skin alterations during sacred ceremonies. Bearing permanent tribal geometric symbols protected hunters from supernatural curses, identified fallen group members on distant battlefields, and signaled lifelong commitment to shared religious covenants. Furthermore, early humans developed sacred fire-keeping rituals that transformed hearth maintenance into a divine duty. In a world where starting a fire from scratch required immense physical exertion using bow drills or flintstones, keeping a central tribal fire burning continuously 24 hours a day was essential for group survival. Codified as holy fire-tending rituals overseen by respected tribal elders, this spiritual duty guaranteed that human bands always maintained immediate access to warmth, protection against nocturnal predators, and light for nighttime tool fabrication. Beyond fire-tending rituals, early humans constructed elaborate sacred animal masks and ceremonial dance regalia long before modern theatrical arts existed. Wearing bison skulls, deer antlers, and leopard skins during nocturnal campfire dances allowed Paleolithic shamans to psychologically embody the spirit of apex predators. By acting out dramatic hunts around the fire, early humans trained young warriors in tactical coordination, reduced fears of dangerous wild animals, and unified the band under a shared mythic consciousness. Furthermore, early hominids developed primitive oaths of alliance bound by sacred water springs and geological landmarks. In arid landscapes where water access determined human survival, bands swore sacred oaths at seasonal oases, promising not to poison shared water holes or launch surprise attacks during dry seasons. Enforced by the fear of divine retribution from local water deities, these early religious treaties preserved critical resource access across competing tribal lineages during severe climatic droughts. Beyond water oaths, early humans developed sacred medicinal plant knowledge passed down through hereditary shamanic lineages. In Paleolithic societies, shamans held exclusive spiritual authority over harvesting potent botanical remedies, such as willow bark for pain relief or psychoactive fungi for ritual trances. Codifying medical botany as sacred spiritual secrets protected toxic plants from accidental misuse by untrained band members, ensuring that life-saving pharmacological knowledge was preserved and safely applied across centuries. Furthermore, early hominids pioneered ceremonial funerary feasts that transformed grief into collective social cohesion. When a respected hunter or mother passed away, Paleolithic bands gathered around the hearth to share high-calorie game meat and offer symbolic grave goods such as polished stone hand axes or carved bone pendants. These sacred memorial feasts reinforced social bonds among surviving band members, turning the trauma of personal loss into a powerful affirmation of tribal unity and ongoing cultural survival. Beyond funerary feasts, early humans developed sacred tribal tattoos and ritual body paint using natural mineral pigments to mark key life transitions. Initiates undergoing puberty or seasoned hunters who survived dangerous carnivore encounters received specific geometric markings on their skin. Codified as holy rites of passage, these permanent visual markers signaled rank, spiritual protection, and sacred social roles within the community. Despite living in a modern world governed by science and technology, your brain is still operating on ancient religious hardware. The same neural pathways that activated during Paleolithic firelit rituals are triggered today when people attend political rallies, support sports teams, or participate in online group movements. Human beings are biological storytelling primates who crave shared sacred values, moral clarity, and a sense of cosmic purpose. The gods didn't just survive history, they built it. Without hyperactive agency, our ancestors would have been eaten by Ice Age carnivores. Without moralizing big gods, our earliest cities would have dissolved into civil war. And without shared rituals, human cooperation would have collapsed before civilization ever began. The next time you gaze up at the night sky and feel a profound sense of awe, remember that your mind is carrying the sacred, survival-tested inheritance of millions of ancestors who dared to look into the vast dark, create gods out of the dust, and conquer the night. Subscribe right now to keep digging into the deep evolutionary history of the mind you inhabit, so you can start working with your biology instead of against it.